Most people think that in any apocalypse, only the fastest, strongest, or smartest people survive. But here's something you don't see in movies. What about people who have Down syndrome? Movies show superheroes, soldiers, or the random guy who suddenly becomes a survival expert. But they almost never show someone with Down syndrome. And that's weird, right? Because in the US alone, about 200,000 people are living with Down syndrome. So what happens to them when the world goes silent and the rules disappear? Before we go any further, hit that subscribe button if you love survival videos that make you think differently, because here we don't just talk about the end of the world, we explore what it means to live through it. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about what Down syndrome actually is. In simple terms, it's a genetic condition that affects how a person learns, moves, and interacts with the world. People with Down syndrome usually have lower muscle tone, looser joints, and sometimes heart or respiratory issues. They can be incredibly kind, loyal, and detail-focused, but they also need structure, routine, and clear communication. So in an apocalypse, especially one that traps them inside a mall, things could get complicated really fast. So imagine this. The world's gone quiet. You're in a huge mall, one of those massive ones with food courts, clothing stores, furniture shops, even a small grocery section. Outside, it's chaos. The smell of rotting flesh fills the air, thick and sour, clinging to your clothes. You can't even tell where it's coming from anymore. It's just everywhere. That's what the movies never show you. The smell. The constant stench of death that hangs in the air like smoke. You'd have to breathe through your sleeve or a damp shirt just to keep from gagging. Let's be real. Survival isn't just about strength. It's about strategy. The first advantage a mall actually gives is structure, something people with Down syndrome thrive on. There are repeating floors, familiar stores, and signs everywhere. That's helpful for someone who depends on routine and visual reminders. They could build a rhythm, check the food court every morning, refill water from the restroom tanks, rest in the same corner at night. Predictability is power in chaos. But here's where it gets really interesting. That same need for routine can also be dangerous. If something changes, like a blocked hallway or a missing item, it could cause panic or confusion. In a crisis, quick thinking keeps you alive, and for someone with Down syndrome, split-second decisions can be harder. So they'd need to rely on habits, not panic, to survive. Let's talk about the basics: food and water. Malls are gold mines in the short term. Canned drinks, vending machines, snacks from storage rooms. But most food spoils fast without refrigeration. Someone with Down syndrome would need to know which foods last: granola bars, canned soup, jerky, bottled water. They'd also need to find a clean source of water, which could mean filling bottles from restroom pipes before the plumbing dies. And because their immune systems can be weaker, dirty water could make them seriously sick. So purification, even with something as simple as boiling or filtering through cloth, becomes life or death. Now, hygiene. This is something movies almost never mention. Without power or clean running water, using the bathroom becomes a real issue. For someone with Down syndrome, that could be confusing or overwhelming, especially with limited supplies. They'd need to set up a small private bathroom area, maybe near a drain, with paper and bags from stores. It's not pleasant, but it's survival. Keeping that area clean would be critical because infection spreads fast in dirty spaces and a weak immune system can't fight it easily. And let's not forget the environment itself. Malls might look safe, but they're full of glass, sharp objects, uneven floors, and dark hallways. For someone with low muscle tone and balance issues, that's a constant risk. One bad fall could mean a broken bone or joint injury, and no doctors to fix it. So mobility would be limited to the safest areas: wide corridors, soft floors, places without debris. They'd have to build a small secure zone and stick to it instead of wandering. Temperature is another silent killer. Many people with Down syndrome struggle to regulate body heat, and heart or respiratory conditions make extreme cold or heat dangerous. Without air conditioning or heating, they'd have to improvise insulation, use clothing from stores, cardboard, and plastic wrap to trap warmth. Or, if it's hot, stay near shaded areas with airflow. Now, one of the biggest challenges isn't physical, It's psychological. People with Down syndrome thrive on community and emotional connection. They don't do well with isolation. In a silent, empty mall, loneliness could become a serious threat. Fear, confusion, and stress could cause panic or shutdown. So the best chance of survival would be with others. Ideally, a small group that's patient, understanding, and willing to communicate clearly. But let's be honest, not everyone in a collapsed world would be kind. We've seen it in every crisis. When resources get scarce, empathy disappears. Without compassionate people around, someone with Down syndrome could easily be ignored or mistreated. That's one of the harshest truths. Survival isn't just about staying alive, it's about staying human. All right, let's flip it for a second. The pros. What if I told you that some traits of Down syndrome could actually help survival? People with Down syndrome often have remarkable emotional intelligence. They can read others' emotions, sense danger through behavior, and build trust fast. In a world where alliances matter, that can save lives. They're also incredibly persistent. Once they set a routine, they stick to it. That discipline can mean eating regularly, conserving water, and maintaining a safe zone long after others get sloppy. Another thing people forget, many individuals with Down syndrome are visual learners. That means they could understand how to use simple tools or devices just by watching or memorizing steps. If they saw someone light a fire, seal a window, or filter water once, they could copy it. Survival isn't always about IQ, sometimes it's about consistency. But here's the other side, the cons. Low stamina, poor balance, and slower reflexes mean running or fighting isn't realistic. Heart problems and respiratory weakness make stress deadly. A polluted mall air filled with mold, dust, and decay could trigger illness fast. And cognitive limits mean remembering complex safety routines could be tough without visual aids. So, they'd need to rely on checklists, drawings, or symbols to stay organized. Things like pictures showing food here, safe area, don't go past this door. And here's something most people don't think about: communication. Not everyone with Down syndrome speaks clearly or understands complex instructions. In a chaotic environment, miscommunication could be fatal. They'd need simple, direct language or even color-coded signs to keep track of what's safe or dangerous. That's why being with patient, supportive survivors would make all the difference. So, could someone with Down syndrome survive in a mall after the apocalypse? It's not impossible, but it would take planning, compassion, and a lot of luck. They'd need stable routines, clean air, safe shelter, and people who understand their needs. The truth is, the apocalypse wouldn't just test strength, it would test empathy. And maybe that's the part movies always miss. Because when the world ends, the people we think are weakest might remind us what being human actually means. Kindness, consistency, hope. Those are survival skills too. The kind we don't measure, but the kind that can keep you alive. So, if you ever wonder who'd survive the end of the world, maybe it's not just the fighters. Maybe it's also the ones who never stopped caring, even when everything else fell apart.